especially, the teams are putting a lot of focus on that Reza pick. So taking him off the board, Lyra going to be banned away as well, leaves this Krull for a first pick.
Definitely going to be a strong pick. Leon knows exactly what he wants to do with this team. They want to be fighting early. They want to be fighting often. You can get those objectives very early on. Even if you just take one buff, you might only think that it's one objective, but it translates so well through the entire rest of the game that that's something that can just set them up with a good start. Rising Lotus, though, grabbing that Tony that we were just talking about, especially I think Lyra is still probably the single strongest captain. I would put Tony at number 2. That's exactly why Rising Lotus has picked him up. Yeah, and then grabbing themselves the Celeste as well. Easily has been the #1 mid laner across all of 5v5. Right up there, you know, behind her is then the Varia and the Scarf that we've seen a lot of as well. So, but easily Celeste. Everyone wants to get the Celeste. I'm a little surprised that it even wasn't first picked by the side of Qlash. Yeah, definitely. It's something that we saw banned during the first round of ban phases in our first matchup here today. Qlash quickly answering with that Taka pickup, though. Definitely a very good choice for getting onto Celeste in that backline. Something that Rising Lotus is going to have to be careful of, and hopefully we'll see throughout the rest of this draft them creating answers for. Yeah, and for Rising Lotus, it's where are they going to go for their composition as a whole? Because you need to be able to have this ability to defend turrets when you're up against a team like Qlash. That's why I like the Celeste pick, I like the Tony pick. Both of them have the ability to defend turrets effectively, clearing out minion waves on the side of Celeste, and then Tony obviously able to maneuver around, play defense, taunt enemies underneath the turret, force the turret to start attacking your opponents while they're trying to take it down. So there's a lot of tools just in those 2 picks alone of being able to defend turrets. They go ahead and ban the Varia, so now it's very likely Qlash is going to be going for that Scarf in the mid lane, but that's something that maybe Rising Lotus thinks about. If they put the Scarf in one of the side lanes, you're just denying mid laners away from Qlash. Absolutely, yeah, they're definitely banning Varia, looking to get that advantage in the mid lane. Qlash still with a little bit of flexibility to figure out what they want to do. I would also not be surprised to see a Samuel pick come out. It was a pick that we saw a lot in week 1. His early game pressure, his early game damage is so strong, and that is such a key to finding victory here on the Sovereign's Rise. Yeah, the obviously also Samuel, excuse me, can do a lot in terms of sieging up turrets. If you throw that Drifting Dark at the right angle, you get a lot of those empowered Malice and Verdicts can force opponents away from turrets. That's where Qlash is going to go. But you know, the Baptiste pick is also something I think we should talk about. This was another one of the most picked heroes last week, but not in the Crystal Baptiste that we're so familiar with seeing. It's the Weapon Baptiste that has been making waves. Yeah, it's the Weapon Baptiste. Gets on top of you, doesn't let you go. Has the slows from the bad mojos that come out, the stun from the Ordained, not letting whatever carry he chooses run away. Qlash also picking up the Lorelei, the second Lorelei, already back-to-back games, something we didn't see in week 1. So now she's making a little bit of a comeback in week 2. I'll be interested to see how that plays out today. Can't really judge it for that first game matchup since it was a little bit of a 4v5, but I think that these 2 teams will be at equal strengths. The Qlash is going to be able to execute how Lorelei is designed to be executed, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. Rising Lotus picking up the Kestrel, a lot of CP Kestrel in week 1 as well. Sitting in the back line, dropping huge glimmer shots, doing a ton of splash damage. Definitely something Qlash is going to watch out for. But Taka still also a very good counter to the Kestrel, so Rising Lotus still needs to find a little bit more protection. Yeah, right now they've got themselves built for an excellent kiting composition. They have a lot of that utility to kind of move team fights as they see fit, but they have to, like you said, be wary of the dive that can come out from a Taka, from a Krull if he's in a brush. If he lands a From Hell's Heart, whoever he hits right now is just dead. Unless it lands on the Tony. That's the only kind of target that has any sort of real heavy durability in the thick of a team fight. So it's a very high-risk, high-reward composition from Rising Lotus, but I think this is what they have to do. Looking at the way Qlash played last week, you need to play a composition that is this style if you're going to counter that heavy aggression that Qlash tries to bring. Another Skye coming out. We saw Weapon Skye in that first game. Do you think it's going to be Weapon or Crystal here in this one? I would assume this one would be Crystal, just because you really only have Samuel for the Crystal power. You know, Taka can go Crystal with the Aftershock, but we've seen a lot of more of the proc builds, the Aftershock and Tension Bow, or just getting Aftershock and then building tanky.
So it's not really going to be a ton of crystal damage. Kroll is obviously going to be weapon damage, and then you have Samuel, like I mentioned, who's going to be crystal. So it could go either way, but I would expect to see the crystal damage come out.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Rising Lotus still working on their final pick. They haven't quite figured it out just yet, but hey, that's all right. There's a lot going on, a lot more moving pieces, things a little bit harder to coordinate. They definitely want something. I really like the ban out of Qlash on the Rona. I think Rising Lotus needed that tanky frontliner to help peel even further for some of these squishy backline carries. So I think that was really smart on the side of Qlash. Rising Lotus going with the Fortress. I actually really like that. It can definitely be a very effective pick with the attack of the pack. Going against Samuel and Qlash, definitely going to need to watch out for that.
Yeah, it was a pick that I was a little bit surprised by, though, just because I was expecting something bruiser-ish. I was expecting a Catherine or an Arden flex the Tony into a weapon roll or something of that nature. But with the Fortress there, it's again, I'm not too sold on it because it kind of goes against everything else that their composition is about.
Had a little bit of suspense there at the end with the countdown, getting down to it. But we got our picks, we got our bans. Guys, which players are we going to be watching now that the match is just about to get underway? Tasty, let's start with you.
All right, for me, I'm going to be looking for Qlash Carroll. Coming into this season, this is his first time on a starting roster. He was a sub all of last year, finally gets this opportunity to showcase himself, and he showed up in a big way last week, playing in this jungle role, playing this alpha especially, was so aggressive. Or against the alpha in game 1, played as the alpha in game 2, and was just super, super aggressive, making plays happen for his team. He was constantly diving in deep, being the one initiating a lot of their team fights. So looking forward to seeing him continue to bring that kind of pressure to the table.
Yeah, the jungle role is so important to making sure that these teams are setting up these team fights. They have to be the one confidently going in, especially when you're playing in a diver bruiser composition. But on the other side of things for Rising Lotus, Keanu Nakoa. Huge changes for him personally. In 2017, we saw him playing the captain role. It looks like in 5v5, he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable on the jungle role. I think that he looked a little bit shaky in that first weekend. Obviously, for anyone switching to a new position, it's always going to be a bit of a learning curve. He definitely has a lot of room for improvement. I fully expect him to be bringing it even harder today, especially with as tough of a matchup as Qlash is going to be.
He's going to have to bring it today if Rising Lotus are going to stand a chance against Qlash. Try and give Qlash their first defeat of the preseason. It's going to require more than just Keanu Nakoa, but definitely you need to have your jungler going aggressive, going into the enemy team's jungle, stealing away camps, going into these lanes, disrupting your opponent's farming tendencies. You need to be just causing disruptions across the map.
Right, so talking about Rising Lotus, we haven't touched on their preseason a ton yet, so they're still looking for their first win. How do they pull off that upset?
It's going to be about defending the pushes. We know that Qlash is going to be aggressive. We know that Qlash is going to be looking to group up, take down turrets. How you answer this is something that, is really going to be a big storyline, I think, for all of preseason, is how teams decide to answer those heavy 5-man rotations. There's really two major schools of thought on how you actually deal with it. One is as soon as you see your opponents grouping up as 5, you do the same thing on the opposite side of the map and just trade blow for blow. The other one is that you try and rotate early. You try and anticipate your opponent's rotations. It requires a lot of vision put down, and you try and answer 4 members to their 5 with 1 split pushing. You go for that 4-for-1 while you have everyone visible. You just slow down your opponents enough and take advantages off of it, but it is very, very difficult to execute.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely great feedback. Another thing, though, with how new 5v5 is, many of these teams should be trying to figure out how far they can push things. And with Qlash trying to find what those upper limits are and how far they can push it, that's a huge opportunity for Rising Lotus to try and capitalize that on catch them out of position.
Great, thanks so much, guys. We are live with the game. Let's go there now.
Qlash versus Rising Lotus, going to be a fun one. Last week, we saw Qlash pretty much just dominate, so I'm really excited to see what they bring today.
Yeah, very excited to see today as well. A little bit less action in the very early game, as we've got in early enough this time. We're going to see Qlash go up through the top side. They actually won a game in 11 minutes last week, which was kind of crazy. Saw them take apart, I believe it was Wolves, but now they're going to look through that top side jungle, try and get the invade on that weapon orb, and see if they can get that. You see Leon just pushing back Vagabond.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be contested too much here. Well, I say that Leon will be the one taking the brunt of the damage. Weapon Treant is secured by Qlash. Does go over to disown the intended target, really, of that Weapon Treant. And now Qlash trying to take a healing champ, which they managed to do. Also goes on over to disown. Perfect start for them.
Yeah, perfect start, and I think when you look at a player that Qlash are going to be relying on, Disowned could very well be the weapon that they use to take apart Rising Lotus, because one of the weaknesses Rising Lotus have had is that they've been playing these compositions that are a little bit more kite-focused, a little bit tougher to pull off, but they don't really group together effectively. They get picked off in their 2 games last week, and, you know, if a target gets a target that's picked off and it's a squishy and you can get all of their health down, well, that's exactly how you snowball a game.
So we have in the bot lane here Netalet versus Tension, the Sky versus the Batiste. Quite a hard matchup really for Batiste. Carl on this Cruel pick. Legitimately, if you type Carl into Google Images, a picture of Cruel comes up. This guy is Cruel in real life. You can go try that out. I'm not even kidding. And so seeing him on Cruel is a treat. This guy really does play that well. But the one thing about Qlash that I think makes them such a strong team is their mid laner here, I'm the Doom. Everyone knows I'm the Doom because he was potentially the best jungler. Ooh. Speaking of jungle, it's Carl with the gank. Nomad Vagabond may go down. Double kill for I'm the Doom. We're only just speaking about him, Stress. This guy is a monster at the mid lane.
Oh, and it couldn't go any better, really. You'd see Kyle step into the bush, get that passive for himself, run in, get the kill set up for I'm the Doom on this Samuel. I mean, when you look at a champion that can also tear apart a team like Samuel, is AoE damage with a 2-kill lead to start things off, he's not really going to get a better start than this. Easily now able to scale into this game.
Yeah, so we're playing on 3.1 for those who are wondering. 3.2 is out on live servers, and I do believe next week of the VPL Invitational will be played on 3.2, but for now, it is that 3.1 update. And talking about I'm the Doom in this mid lane, everyone who knows I'm the Doom will recognize him as a jungler in the previous iterations of his professional career, but he's transitioned into the mid lane here, which is quite exciting. We'll talk about it in a second because Leon is currently fighting for his life up in the top lane. Disown comes in just to try and peel him away, but Keanu Nicole won't let them escape that easily, or at least he won't try. There it is, Prime Directive onto Leon, goes onto Disown, but Leon going to lock him up with a fish food. I'm the Doom, rotating down, throwing the Drifting Dark out, and that's going to keep Leon alive.
Splitting up and then utilizing a lot of Lorelei's speed and then disengage capabilities. I'm glad you're talking a little bit about I'm the Doom and his past. I mean, one of the things when you look at a player that has played in, you know, challenger level across multiple games, you have to look at map awareness as one of the key things. That and macro play go hand in hand, and you can see I'm the Doom was right there, able to rescue his teammates, make sure there was no kills that go from that. It's still a 2-0 kill lead, and both of them were on I'm the Doom himself.
Yeah, for sure. He's providing so much map pressure from this mid lane. It's something that the mid lane has so much power to do because of the river mechanic flowing outwards from the mid lane towards the side lanes and the speed buff that you get when you do run down that river out of combat. It makes for some really interesting ganking routes. I'm the Doom now with the Drifting Dark. Nomad Vagabond going to block it on up. Good fish food will lock him up and punish him back under his turret. But right now it's just immense pressure coming out of Team Qlash.
Oh, the Solicitude was maybe being a little bit greedy, sticking around in his jungle as I'm the Doom moved out, and that's one of the reasons, as you're talking about the pressure around mid, that we see these push-heavy mid laners very commonly in the draft. The likes of Celeste, then you ban the Varia as a matchup that can kind of counter that push. It's so important in MOBA games to take control of this mid lane and then get the jungle entrances around. Just take control of everything that you can, and suddenly you can work with so much more of the map.
Yeah, for sure. Right now, it doesn't feel like Rising Lotus has a foothold in this game yet, and when you have heroes like Alpha, you really do want to get ahead early. Cruel can just be so dominating. Solicitude locked up in the fish food. This could be him dead. I'm the Doom. blocking, escaping the core collapse, throws the Oblivion out, but it doesn't quite find a target. And this continuous rain of malice and verdicts onto Solicitude Celeste is really providing some issue. Kianakoa moving up to the top lane, trying to relieve cracks just a little bit, but Disown just runs away and doesn't even provide it. In fact, Disown dives in knowing full well that Kianakoa was still around, doesn't care.
Yeah, knows he's got that level 6 as well, can just go aggressive if he wants to. One thing, talking a bit about the pace of the game and talking about how Rising Lotus don't necessarily have a foothold, is this Baptiste, the weapon power Baptiste. It's a lot later on into the game, I feel, from watching it. You need a couple of items to get that attack speed, to combo it with that passive when it starts really hurting later on in the game in fights. Like, Baptiste, to me, when I play it and when I watch it in VPL last week, just doesn't seem to have the same bite early on. You need to wait a little longer.
Yeah, his Crystal Power variant very strong in that early game, especially when you get level 6 online, but right, you say, doesn't really have the strongest of weapon power ratios, so it's all about getting those items so that you can be a threat and then use your Reap passive to really amplify your damage in those team fights. Currently, Qlash pressuring this bot lane. Carl going to come in onto Tensian, and that's going to be a kill going over. Qlash find it, Carl smites it, and the turret will fall as well.
Just enough. I say just enough, a lot of damage coming out to clear that tower down in order to keep him alive. And that's one of the great strengths of Cruel. You move in, you get the health back when you use the second ability, easily stay alive under the tower. Now there's a Crystal Treant fight.
I don't know how Leon does
actually
that.
got it himself.
Leon does this every game in solo queue, wherever. He will just secure every objective. He will go up 1v2, 1v3 as the captain and just fight people back. He is a monster on captain. Leon, you know, one of the best carries in EU for quite some time. Definitely a superstar. Now in that captain position, potentially a shock to some people's systems, but he plays it so well. It's really a treat to watch.
Nice little stop by Solicitude. He did, of course, see him under the tower. Disowned, meanwhile, while everything else is going on, takes down a kill and a tower for himself on the top side. So we talked a little bit about how Disowned was going to be one of the carries that really opened this game up, and he's fitting himself into that spot already, way ahead when you look at exactly how much gold he's generated, especially with that kill now on top. Like, this is now a pick that is going to roam around and look for kills.
Here it comes. That's turret down, and there's no defensives to keep them alive. I'm the Doom finding the kill. Can he find it? No, I thought he would. That's going to be everyone just walking away, sitting on minimal health. I'm the Doom tags a one-shot, but he's going to be fine to walk away from this. And Qlash happy to disengage the fight. 4-0 with so many turrets already taken.
At this point, it looks like Rising Lotus is trying to play snipers only while, you know, Qlash are wanting to just go tower diving the entire time. It's exactly how they played out last week in their 11-minute, 25-second game. Like, you get a lead, you continue to pressure, you get as many objectives as you can and open that map up. And then once you can get the Ghost Wing, just start grouping and fighting. And you know your enemies are a lot squishier, you can just get the kills quickly and continue to snowball.
So let's quickly talk a bit about the massive role swaps that Qlash has had. All these players pretty much played in different roles. So you had Net2let, who used to be captain for Fnatic, now in the lane. One of his main roles previously before joining Fnatic. I'm the Doom used to be jungler for Mouse, moving to mid lane. For those who don't know, I'm the Doom, challenger League of Legends mid laner. So quite the threat really as Vainglory turns to 5v5. Disowned used to be captain for Team Qlash previously, but he was a fearsome carry before then, so having him in the carry position makes so much sense. And Leon, of course, that captain change. Everyone's switching roles for 5v5, but it's working so well as they push up the top lane. Kianakoa gets popped into his reboot and finds himself dead. Good Fearsome Shade will disengage the fight for now, and Leon will lose his life because of it. One-shot tags Net2let, and it looks like Solicitude wants to get into the fight, but really, Qlash have just already disengaged this one. There's nothing Rising Lotus can do to chase.
That's exactly the 5-man group the analyst desk were talking about. You just get 5 people, go to one of the lanes, push down 2 towers in the end of all things. Now there's an armory exposed, and you can see Qlash know exactly how to do it. They were way ahead of the curve on Rising Lotus, but then you have to commend the defense. There is a lot of AoE long-distance power on this Rising Lotus team, and they were able to get a kill, deter Qlash, and also delay the Ghost Wing play so much that they're actually looking for it themselves. They have that Baptiste. They can actually do quite a lot of damage quite quickly, or if they can secure this, this might be the turning point.
Yeah, that's Ghostwing going down, and an engage comes out of Nomad Vagabond, knocking Disowned away. It won't be the fight breaking out. Rising Lotus were looking for it, though. They also find a turret with a push with the minions in the side lane as well. So gold is coming back into Rising Lotus's system, but at a 7k deficit, you have to wonder if it's too little too late.
Right, because now Qlash, realistically, what you do is you don't take the fight head on unless you can find a pick, somebody on their own, because now Rising Lotus likely to group as 5. At this point, start exploiting the side lanes if you're Qlash. Now here comes the fight in mid lane. That's a lot of damage down already.
Yeah, Leon is going to be half health. I'm the Doom even. Leon stopping the fight up is a good Captain Will, but Rising Lotus with this Ghostwing just continuously putting the pressure down, keeping Qlash in the mid lane so that Armory exposed in the top doesn't become a problem. I'm the Doom trying to kite back Kianako, but Kianako gonna pop his ultimate. Here comes the Fearsome Shade. Not going to really have any impact here. Qlash kiting and fighting with that Malice Verdict range. Looks like it is going to be Rising Lotus pushed off here. That Ghostwing buff about to expire as well. Really not finding any use for it.
And that's the moment Qlash will go back aggressive. It's exactly what they were looking for, is just hold them at arm's length while we don't want to take the fight while the buff is active, and then we go back to it. We look for that mid lane tower, you look for that bot lane tower, because look, minions are starting to stack up down there. So it's kind of just a good avoidance tactic while the enemy have that buff that you don't want to fight them with.
Right now, Qlash looking to invade into the jungle here. Solicitude trying to secure that Crystal Treant, but he wasn't able to with the Solar Storm, and now he may have just found himself caught out by a Tucker. What's Celeste's worst nightmare? It is, of course, Tucker, and it is going to be Solicitude caught in a sticky position. Nomad Vagabond is stunned up. A tanky Tony and D uses the ultimate to try and knock people backwards and get some distance, and he will just about walk away with his life for now. No, over the Doom, over the wall. The Malice and Verdict finds the kill. Qlash going to push on into this bot lane turret, taking out the Ancestral as well. Armory turret down. Armory being taken out, and a huge minion wave means Qlash will start taking out this Vein Crystal. Kianako is stunned, locked up, dead. Tienxian will fall as well, and Qlash will find themselves a victory here after just a couple of seconds. 1250, Vein Crystal being pushed on down. Qlash do it again, and they do it clean here, Stress.
Trying to speedrun their way through the VPL Preseason Invitational. 11:25 on the clock last time, just around 13 minutes on the clock in this game. Another really convincing performance from Qlash, using beautiful map plays to catch out Rising Lotus when they were on their own.
Fantastic stuff from Qlash once more. They are certainly one of the scariest teams in the world when it comes to Vainglory 5v5. And as we continue to witness their rise in Europe, I'm very excited to see what happens. Fantastic game, but let's throw it back to the desk to break it down further.
One of the scariest teams in the world. Another exciting